To demo kind of a neat new feature I've been working on. I think the best way is with an actual little case scenario. This is a pretty interesting model. You'll notice the arch form is kind of unique. And what this is this is the lower arch of a patient of mine who has Down syndrome. And he had all his teeth extracted. And he's about 50 years old. And his guardians are interested in having upper and lower dentures made for him. Without getting too much into the case, his tongue is very large, so large that it was almost impossible to take a traditional full arch impression. We couldn't get the tray to get past his tongue and to seat on the ridges. So what we did is we kind of held his tongue to one side and took an impression of this area and an impression of this area. And unfortunately, I didn't get as much overlap in here as we wanted, so this is really just a diagnostic model, and barely at that. His compliance is very good, but he still kind of will bite down on whatever you put in his mouth, so the trays are definitely over-seated. You can see, and this is the ridge, the edge of the stock tray. So this is what we ended up with. We got the partial impressions registered in software. Now it's time to kind of think about, if this is rough enough for a diagnostic model, what we want to do. So we'll start, and let's say we want some implants down the road in canine positions, and then just for argument's sake, let's say we're going to kind of pre-plan our denture just with some diagnostic models. So we'll get all that into the system. We'll set this as our master model, process as usual. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate it looking from above. Kind of set it in the center. So at the midline, it's a little bit hard to gauge here. It looks like we've got a soft tissue midline here, but a frenum over here, kind of this canine area. So just best guess. All right. Then I'm going to initiate arch design. It's going to give me a Bezier curve, just one part of it. I'm going to start with it right in the middle. And I'll just draw along his residual ridge to give me a starting point for where we want to be. So you see there, kind of hard to see. We'll tab into edit mode, turn off the magnet here, kind of flatten things out. And we probably want the whole thing to be off the ridge a little bit. And it looks about 2/3 the height of what might be the retromolar pad. So we'll go with that. And then I've got this function called teeth on curve, and let's start with just one quadrant. So lower right, merge won't matter, and I'll show you what the rest do later. So that puts the teeth on the arch. Sometimes, depending on which way you draw the arch, if I go from here to here instead of from here to here, it'll put them in reversed. So got an option to reverse it, and there just kind of places our teeth along that planned curve. Now if we wanted to go ahead and do the whole arch, we could mirror it. Sometimes they don't quite line up, so you can play with the merge feature until they make it all along, and we won't reverse at that time. Eek. What happened there? There we go. So sometimes it takes a little playing, and boom, now our whole set of teeth is nicely placed on the ridge. that at this point the curve kind of goes through the middle of the teeth. I think later it makes more sense to have it more correlated to cusp tips or even functional cusp tips. But that's what we've got for now. It's definitely not, I don't have it so that these teeth can be hooked to their actual planning item in here. There's a little bit of a bug kind of in the current release of Blender that's preventing that from happening. But the neat thing is you've got your arch, curve, which is parented to your master model. So you move the model all around, the teeth follow. But if you come in here to the curve itself, it's proportional editing. You can move the teeth all around, and they don't scale yet. So if you're greatly changing the arch length by virtue of where you're moving things, then the teeth are going to end up with spaces or overlaps. On the other hand, it's not a major thing to correct for, and it does get things in the right place pretty much all the time. You can do things like select both sides, give yourself more curve. You can select multiple points, except K9, and curves have tilt built in, so you can change the angulation of the teeth, stuff like that. So it's kind of a powerful tool for planning occlusal schemes and maybe just general getting a good visual of what all the teeth might look like in a given situation, even if there were existing teeth still hanging out on this ridge.